Imagine a world where extinct species walk the earth again. Thanks to groundbreaking genetic engineering, this is no longer the stuff of science fiction. A Dallas-based biotech company, Colossal Biosciences, has achieved what was once thought impossible. They have successfully brought back the dire wolf, an apex predator that vanished more than 12,500 years ago. In this video, we'll explore how scientists accomplished this astonishing feat, what it means for the future of wildlife conservation, and the potential risks and ethical dilemmas surrounding de-extinction. The dire wolf, Inocean dirus, was one of the most fearsome predators of the Ice Age. Unlike the gray wolves we see today, dire wolves were larger, stronger, and more robust. They had thicker fur, a stockier build, and powerful jaws, which made them formidable hunters. If the name sounds familiar, you might recognize it from HBO's Game of Thrones, where dire wolves were depicted as giant, mystical beasts. But the real dire wolves were not just fantasy. They roamed North America for hundreds of thousands of years, preying on large herbivores like bison and horses. However, as the climate changed and their prey disappeared, dire wolves went extinct around 12,500 years ago, until now. Colossal Biosciences has been working on bringing back extinct species since 2021, with ambitious projects aimed at resurrecting the woolly mammoth, the dodo, and the Tasmanian tiger. But the successful cloning of dire wolves marks the first fully de-extinct animal in history. So, how did they do it? Scientists extracted ancient DNA from two dire wolf fossils, one from a 13,000-year-old tooth and another from a 72,000-year-old skull. These samples allowed them to reconstruct a high-quality genome of the dire wolf. Once they had a complete genetic blueprint, they compared it with modern canids like wolves, jackals, and foxes to identify the genes responsible for the dire wolf's unique traits. Using CRISPR gene editing technology, the scientists made 20 precise genetic modifications in 14 key genes of a gray wolf's DNA. This allowed them to recreate physical and behavioral characteristics of the dire wolf, such as its thicker fur, larger size, and wider skull. Once the genetic modifications were complete, they cloned the edited cells and transferred them into donor eggs. These eggs were then implanted into large domestic dogs, which acted as surrogates for interspecies gestation. The result? 3 healthy dire wolf pups, 2 males, born on October 1, 2024, and a female, born on January 30, 2025. The 3 dire wolves are now living in a 2,000-acre secure facility at an undisclosed location. This massive enclosure, surrounded by 10-foot-tall fencing, is being monitored by security personnel, drones, and live camera feeds. The site has also been certified by the American Humane Society and is registered with the U.S. Department of Agriculture. The debate: are these true dire wolves? Some scientists argue that while these wolves carry dire wolf DNA, they are still 99.9% gray wolf at the genetic level. However, they look and behave more like dire wolves than any animal seen in the last 13,000 years. Professor Love Dallane, an expert in evolutionary genomics, believes this is a huge leap forward in de-extinction science. While they are technically hybrids, they carry the essential traits that made dire wolves unique. So, while we may not have a perfect genetic copy of a dire wolf, we now have animals that closely resemble their prehistoric ancestors. Colossal Biosciences claims that their work is not just about de-extinction but also about saving endangered species. For example, the same cloning techniques used for dire wolves have already been applied to help the critically endangered red wolf. Colossal recently announced the successful cloning of 2 litters of red wolves, using a less invasive cloning method developed during their dire wolf research. However, some critics argue that millions of dollars spent on de-extinction projects could be better used to protect existing wildlife. Others worry about the ethical implications of using surrogate animals for cloning. Colossal Biosciences is not stopping with dire wolves. Their most ambitious project, the resurrection of the woolly mammoth, is still underway. The company hopes to introduce the first mammoth calves by 2028. But what role will these resurrected animals play in the modern world? Unlike mammoths, which could potentially help restore the Arctic tundra, dire wolves may have no place in today's ecosystems. As Professor Christopher Preston from the University of Montana points out, even gray wolves struggle to survive in the wild due to human conflict. Reintroducing dire wolves, an even larger predator, could be highly controversial. So, what do you think? Is bringing back extinct species a scientific breakthrough or a dangerous experiment? Could these efforts help restore biodiversity, or should we focus on protecting species that are still alive? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more updates on the world of cutting-edge science.